What's up, everyone? I'm Danny.
Marcy.
And Robert. And welcome to
Let's Talk Theater, the podcast.
Let's Talk Theater, the podcast. Sorry, was I late that time?
That's fine. So, yesterday was the first day of school.
Woo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome back,
Yeah,
students.
I mean, we started like way later than everybody else.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody
that's
started
true.
last week.
Right. And I feel like, because we've been at work, I just feel like school's already started. But
Yeah.
technically, for the students, it started yesterday.
And then it's even stranger because we don't actually see them.
Yeah, is it virtual
in.
all this week?
Oh yeah, Marcy,
Yeah,
so
this
how's it
whole
work?
this whole week is virtual. Like nobody's supposed to show up. It's like against the rules apparently. I
Oh.
don't know. Including for like those hybrid classes where you show up sometimes or like in separate groups or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't see anybody who's actually enrolled in a class until next week at the earliest.
Oh.
But
Any
yeah,
new students that
we do have a few. Yeah.
yeah?
Nice.
We'll see what we could do with them because this is their first time, and it's like the first time taking practicum
I
in the middle of a
know,
pandemic, right?
I know.
So we'll see what we can get done with that many people.
Well, luckily, we will have stuff for them to do since, we're going to put up our show.
Yeah.
Tell us about
totally.
that, Mars.
So we're doing another virtual production, kind of going off of what Robert did with Medea, except we're taking a step back and performing it in a more traditional style, but still it being virtual.
Yeah.
Recording it.
So why don't we tell our audience what play it is?
So we had decided on doing Othello, but then Connor, the host of the previous Let's Talk
The series,
series,
yeah.
he
Who's
wants to
also
be a
a drama
writer.
student,
Yeah,
by
he
the
wants to be a drama student. He also wants to be a writer. And I've always wanted to completely rewrite either an ancient Greek play or a Shakespeare play, kind of like in the way that all those early 2000s movies like 10 Things I Hate About You and She's the Man, the way they did all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we said, why not do that now? We have the time. We have why not experiment? There's no other time to experiment
to
but
create,
now,
right? Yeah.
So I was like, hey, you want to be a writer? Let's go. Let's let's come up with a new let's place the story of Othello in a completely different, somewhere you wouldn't even think to put it, to kind of try to, not to prove, but to kind of keep reminding people that Shakespeare stories and even ancient Greek stories, they are timeless. And I feel like people still forget that, they're not dated. Maybe some of the situations, maybe some of the positions that the characters hold are dated, but the main ideas, the issues that arise are still very much the same. Like we haven't really changed much, And also to kind of show people that we can have these situations that we normally think are only for, people in high positions or whatever. And to show that in everybody's immediate universe, everybody has like, a little ranking or whatever.
That hierarchy
That
of
hierarchy.
levels.
Yeah.
Of,
So it's just like you're bringing that universe down to something very,
minimal and
minimal,
simple.
yeah, and simple. So we decided to somehow, I don't know how this happened, just by throwing around ideas, we came up with putting it in a video store in the early 2000s,
Nice.
and in the middle of like some random town in Middle America.
Okay.
Because we thought, hey, there's a hierarchy there. We can put, Othello as the manager.
And then also, I mean, video stores are like dying out, or they're dead now.
Yeah,
so
they're
that's
dead
kind
now.
of like giving like a little homage to what was once a way of us to see videos or to go like
That
Friday
was a whole
nights
experience to go rent a movie
and get some popcorn, get
Yeah.
some candy, and go watch a movie and stuff like that. So
And
they're
it's
definitely
gone.
Yeah, and it's gone.
And we never thought that it would
No.
be gone.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
used to
that
work
would
at a
be-
video
and
store.
that's
So did I. I worked at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was
Nice.
really fun.
Anyway, so the
Anyway.
video store, right?
So yeah, a video store. And so what we wanted to do is kind of like base it loosely on the story.
Okay.
We actually, I don't know if I should say the whole thing or should I just save it? I don't know.
It's up to you how much you
yeah.
want to talk about.
Okay, because in this one, Othello's not even really a part of the story.
Okay.
He's only talked about by all the other characters. Because when I went back to read it again recently, I was like, the story isn't really about him. It's about Iago and how someone can just like revert to like their most base, instincts when they're hurt or when they feel like invalidated or when they feel like, betrayed.
Yes.
Because I think people forget that Iago did all this because he was betrayed, or he was, in his world, in his eyes, he was betrayed by somebody that he actually loved. I think people forget that Iago loved Othello. I don't know why people seem to forget that. They claim that it's only about racism, and it's not only about racism. He uses racism as a method of hurting someone that hurt him. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of like, not erase that part, but bring it farther out, use him as like a canvas for people to throw their prejudices on, or, make up their own, like, I hate these people, or I hate that kind of person because of, this and this, because of my own shortcomings or whatever, So he's not, we don't see him, we don't hear from him, but the characters do talk about him. Okay. And I kind of got that idea from popular shows from the 90s, right? Yeah. Like Frasier and Will and Grace, because they both employ like that character that's never seen, but they're there the whole time, and they talk about them, and you hear the things that they say about him. It's like these people, no way they exist, because they're contradictory and in extreme, and I kind of wanted to try that.
Cool.
But yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I think.
Me
and it's
too.
called Cypress Video. Did I say that?
No.
It's not called
Cypress
Othello.
Video.
Cypress
Video, loosely based on Othello.
Right.
Cool.
We'll see how that goes.
And I mean,
It'll be
that
fun.
kind of goes with what we do here at SGC too. We like taking these stories and adapting them to something that is more relevant to our audience.
Yeah.
Like you said, the way with Taming of the Shrew and bringing it to a more recent time to see that this stuff is still happening. It's happening every day. Yeah, okay, it's not like the king or the queen or the the hierarchy that is going through it, but us middle class
or even low
still
class,
or
whatever,
low class has these Othello characters in their world, or these shrew-like characters in their world, like even now they're making everything, like I'm making a reference to something that's, I don't know if it's Valley or how far it goes, but like La Toxica, that's a very much the shrew. You know what I mean?
We just have different terms for them now, and we should keep reminding people that all this stuff still exists. We just keep coming up with new names and new faces, and it's all the same.
Like, I got a shrew, anybody want her?
Exactly. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I know we both like adapting things, but for me, I like doing it because I want to erase anything that people can cling to, because when there's a very specific type of person or a very specific type of place or time or, anything, they find something to immediately like separate from, so they don't have to like take the lesson. You know what I mean? And
keeping it fresh and new.
Yeah, when you erase those things that people can grab onto, it kind of forces them to take what they need to take without, having an excuse to say, well, that's not me, or that's not my world. Like, I'll enjoy this, I'll like maybe sympathize, but it's not mine, But that's why I like to take all those things away.
Yeah, and why not freshen up a story?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these Shakespeare plays and all that are like 3-hour long, 4-hour long shows, and no one nowadays has that attention span.
No.
Like,
it was for a different type of audience.
Yeah, totally. They literally went in there and they were seeing shows for 3-4 hours with intermissions, in between each one. And I feel like we can't even get through 2 halves sometimes.
We can barely watch 5-minute videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm even guilty of that now. I'm like, well,
attention spans, they change.
Yeah.
And that's why adapting stories is really important, because you're able to freshen it and show it in a different way, or deliver it in a different way, so that the audience isn't bored of how it's been delivered. It's great. It's like nowadays when people, like now there's like all these sushi bowl places,
Deconstructed sushi.
Deconstructed sushi,
still the same
it's still the
thing.
same thing. It's just that they're giving it to you in different forms, so that you can enjoy it separately versus all together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways,
So
I'm hungry.
Everybody's hungry. So since we were speaking about adaptations, this is another special person that we've all worked with many times. that also we really enjoy working with
Yes,
him, and
definitely.
we enjoy his fresh takes on a lot of content that he likes to create.
And he likes adapting a lot of stuff too.
So
Totally.
we would like to introduce our guest for today, Mr. Joe Trillayes.
Yes. Woo, woo, woo. Hi, Johnny Joe.
Hi.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome.
I really am.
It's a
I was
big
very
day.
surprised I was being asked. I was like, what time? What day?
I'll be there.
Yes.
What am I
That's
wearing?
awesome.
Right?
Let's do it.
I know, he did ask me about
Johnny,
what
give us a little bit about you. Tell us about you. What do you do these days?
Well, I'm a theater director, currently at PSJA Southwest College High School. Before that, I was at Brownsville Lopez Early College High School.
Yeah.
Before that, I was at La Grulla, not Early College High School. And that's kind of where my teaching career started. I did graduate from St. Andrews University with a BFA in performance and a minor in literature, which I don't know how I was talked into doing that in the first place, but it happened. And I've always been very involved with all aspects of theater. St. Edward's has a very unique program in that in your freshman year, regardless of what your emphasis is going to be, you are forced to do design. You are forced to do backstage stagecraft work,
Definitely.
right? In addition to your acting.
Oh, it's good.
So that
That's awesome.
if you don't necessarily get in to the performance track or the BFA track at the end of your freshman year, you at least have other options within the spectrum of theater to kind of play with and work with and kind of discover before you ultimately decide like, oh, my life is over. I want to be an actor. I'm going to go major in physics, you know? So that's kind of like the journey in a nutshell for me.
Nice.
I did. So when I met you, you had.
No.
So when I first met you, it was actually here in this
student.
In this
actual
space, I was
space.
probably sitting somewhere in this area, and there was a piano, and you sang Little Mermaid, part of your world for
embarrassing.
part of your world. August Junior,
Danny.
the musical.
Yeah. And so you had just graduated, and was this your first like gig, or was this your first like?
So I had to turn down a acting apprenticeship at the Actors Theatre of Louisville for personal reasons and for family reasons. And so when I came down here, I didn't necessarily have a plan.
Yeah.
And that scared me because as a type A person, type A, but like a little bit of B, C, D, E, F, G.
I like all those
I
letters.
just made it a thing. But I was very lost in what I needed or wanted to do. So I remember emailing every single theatrical organization in the Valley. Every single one, right? Even community theaters that people were like, are you sure? I'm like, I don't care. I need to do something and I don't care if I get paid. Like for myself, I need to do something to fulfill myself so that I feel like I'm not wasting time.
Yeah, definitely.
And the one institution that reached out to me was SDC.
Yay.
And that led to a meeting in which I may have been very honest or dishonest about my credentials, which led me to working on my first show here, and it kind of morphed into like a kind of like a directing internship, right, without a title, and that kind of is what kind of introduced me to the Valley theatrical community, the SDC community, and kind of really serves as even now in many ways as like the backbone of where I go outside of my school realm to either create art and to perform and to just talk to like-minded people who aren't afraid of pushing limits and maybe making people feel a bit uncomfortable by forcing them to think about things that they don't necessarily feel it's okay.
Yeah.
to think
Feel about-
Yeah.
question.
Well, especially in
feel,
where we're
you know,
from.
like-
Where we're from is like
and it's also a beautiful breath of fresh air because in high school it's like, this is your box
Yeah.
Don't get out.
of decency, and we're very conservative, and we're holding your job. Not that they've ever told me they're holding my job against me, but that's kind of the general,
vibe.
feeling there. So it's great to come here and work with like a mixture of students and adults to create art and maybe throw in a curse word or two. You know, it's just very liberating to be able to have that type of an outlet.
Yeah,
sure.
totally. I think the first show that I worked with you was Tea Time.
Oh dear, tea time.
you directed that, right?
Tea Time.
Yes, I did.
You directed it.
Yeah.
It was here in the black
yes.
box.
In the black box.
I had worked an entire season alongside Jason Rodriguez here, and I kind of pitched this idea about maybe directing my own show. And I think at that time it was like, I just want to prove this to myself. Like, I know I can do this. I've done it in college successfully. I'd never had this type of a platform to do it. Didn't necessarily know what the answer was going to be, and at the time Marcy was still, I think, transitioning into a full-time faculty member at that time, and she's like, just do it. Like, what do you have to lose? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I considered budget, I considered design, I considered kind of everything, and I decided to go with a play that a dear friend of mine from college, Mitch Harris, wrote. And kind of have it be a world premiere that kind of brought visibility to the Indian community here in our community at the time, and I had so much fun working with everyone, actors, design.
And
it was a fun
I
experience.
remember, because I think that was when I went up to Sam Houston, and Marcy kept like telling me about both of you.
You didn't know them?
Because I didn't know you all.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys
hope
at
good
all. So
stuff.
I left, and then you guys came in. And because I remember her telling me about, dude, I need to build this couch for Johnny because he's a couch.
'cause I live in
Oh, that's right.
No, not a couch for
forget.
me.
No, you were.
I was.
You
Yeah,
were the couch.
yeah, he was the couch, so he needed to
forget
be a
about that
couch.
show.
Yeah, I don't, because I passed out.
Yeah,
at
I
the first
know.
dress rehearsal.
I remember.
The couch was here, and then the couch was here at the end of like acting.
That was quite the ordeal trying to
Yeah.
figure that out.
And
Yes,
then and then
yeah.
Marcy, I remember her sending me pictures of the costume shop. It looked like a mess in there.
I
It
actually
looked
recently
like
remembered
gutted
that. I don't
in.
know why. My pile of trash. It looked like a pile of trash, and people would be like, "Do you want me to clean that?" I'm like, "No,
No,
that's
don't touch
my
my
stuff."
pile of trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
yeah.
I'd lay on it and
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
It took me forever to figure out how to do that.
But when it worked, it worked.
Yeah,
And I
when
was
we finally-
very thankful and hydrated.
Yes, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Ventilated.
Yes.
It was like
I
suited up
remember.
in there with like those
Ice
like
packs.
those
Yeah.
ice packs that we put inside like mesh
my God.
vests, and even had a camel pack so we could drink water.
Yes.
When we needed to drink water.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience.
And what
Yeah.
made the experience worse is that the entirety of Act 1, I don't move.
No.
I am the chair.
Yeah.
And there's a little girl who wasn't necessarily a little girl, right? She was like, oh, she's 8, but really she's 16. And she's like hopping on me and like just doing what she wants.
That was an
But
interesting show.
what you do for art, you know?
I know, yeah.
It's true.
You forget about some of the
True.
weirder stuff that you do, maybe because you
No.
block it out or something.
And
you know?
I think that's kind of a dying art. Like I feel our community now, or like just our culture in general, it's like, it's so money driven. And money makes the world go round. But I miss moments like that where it's like people are just doing things for the sake of creating and for the sake of just being a part of something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
is that the credit that I will take with me and put on my bios if I ever accomplish anything monumental?
I think you should.
I mean, maybe,
I was a couch.
but
I was
it
a
wouldn't be the first. It would not be the
Literally.
first title that I would
I mean,
go
yeah,
to.
but I would keep it on
I
there.
think back to that moment, and it's like, why aren't there more people chasing after an opportunity just to say, I was a part of that?
Yeah.
Because you don't see that. Like it's like, what can I get out of it? How much? Well, how much time? Well, I have this. Well, it's like, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Then you're not an artist. Then why are you doing this? right? I don't know.
Preach.
I could see it on the resume. Like I could say like fantasy characters, couch,
Chair.
chair.
And the chair, the window.
But not just
there's a
any
lot of-
chair. One of those like
the frame and the.
it's a
chair or
recliner. It was a
something.
recliner.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was what it was.
Yeah.
And
And-
a lot of people thought that it was an actual chair. So I'm
Yeah.
like, woo, I did a good job.
Go, Marcy.
They all
High
said
five.
that it looked like those recliners for older people that help them up, the ones that like
Oh,
have you seen
lift
those?
them up.
Because it's literally like a transformer. It's like,
Yeah,
It
and some
was.
people were like, those that looks like my grandma's. Like my grandma has one of those. I'm like, what? Okay,
awesome.
cool. Whatever. But anyway,
It worked.
It works. So, what have you guys been doing over at PSJA Southwest?
how
We've been
is it?
obviously talking to everybody about the pandemic. And
How's it
Definitely.
been?
But
How
what
did
do
it
you-
How's
affect you
that affecting you
guys?
guys?
I think I'll start with it personally, and then I'll delve into our students.
Do it.
So the pandemic abruptly ended the busiest time of our year.
Yeah.
Last year in March, right? It was in the middle of our competition series. And at that time, I didn't realize how much my entire life and every fiber of my being revolved around one show. And that was extremely terrifying to kind of come down to in the middle of this quarantine period, in the middle of the height of the pandemic. And that's when that realization hit me, because I found myself in this depression unlike any depression I've ever felt before, and unlike any depression that I've ever wanted to admit even to myself in the privacy of my own home. Because it got to the point where I couldn't find the motivation to even get up or even care about anything, because all I could think about was, am I gonna have the opportunity to get back and work on this show with these students? Because if you're a theater director like me, I don't consider myself a theater teacher. That is lessening my value and my worth. I'm a theater director, I am an artist, I am an innovator in my own right, and as far as I'm concerned, I run my own mini regional theater with two amazing coworkers, right? And that's what I had to do for myself to keep pushing and to keep going. But when the one thing that you love and the one thing that I put on myself that defines my career, because in Texas, in theater, if you want to be considered great or legendary, where are the trophies that show that? It's not enough to create beautiful art. And that is the truth of the matter. And that is the culture across the valley, because if it wasn't for that contest, which I love, but if it wasn't for that contest, theater wouldn't exist here.
Nope.
If you can't bring enough trophies the way that football does, the way that basketball does, then why are you even doing it, right? So it doesn't matter that at our school, we were getting up to doing 5 shows a season before the pandemic, which we all held higher standard than even our UIL. But that, in the long run, on paper, does not matter as much as that one show. And I allowed that to get to me from the start of my career teaching to now, because as a person who went to New York and did that, right, and fulfilled his dreams in some way working there, and then getting this apprenticeship, I felt like I had a lot to prove, especially because when I told my family, hey, remember that huge dream about me becoming a doctor and being in cosmetic surgery and like nipping this and tucking this for all of you? That's not gonna happen. I had almost zero support. And at the time, I blamed my family so much for that, and I resented them so much for not supporting my dream or my new dream, right? And I'll never forget having to drive my little Chevy Impala, right? Oh my God.
I remember that car.
My little Chevy Impala filled from the floor to the roof with all of my belongings, and I had to move myself in to that dorm room all by myself, watching all these rich white kids, and I mean, there's other races there too. We're very inclusive. But it hurt me to see these happy families celebrate in this moment, and I had to do that by myself.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't realize that my parents just didn't understand. In addition to being a gay Latino son from La Grulla, from Alto Bonito, from Rio Grande, on top of that, I'm artistic. On top of that, we don't speak the same language. On top of that, we don't see the world in the same way. We don't speak the world. We don't take in the world in the same way. And I didn't understand that maybe for my parents, they were never given an instruction manual on how to raise a boy like me. Yeah. And instead of trying to help them understand, I pushed them away, and I didn't help them in that understanding. And that's something that I carry with me very heavily, because I lost my father shortly after starting college, and there are just so many things that you obviously wish that you could have said to kind of help them, because it's like, imagine being as masculine of a man as he is, as powerful. Like, he was a legend where I was from. Like, he was the guy that could change the world by saying one thing to someone or by helping one family out. Like, he was the epitome of masculinity. And as a Latino man, boy, stuck in this like machismo culture, the last thing you want to do is disappoint that man. And the last thing you want to do really is look him in the eye, right? Half the time. Yeah. And how I wish I could go back and just say so many things that now seem just so stupid, and like, oh, why didn't you just do it? Right? So there's a whole lot of that that weighed down on me, that I was forced to face in the pandemic. Yeah. And questions like, what are my hobbies? They all went back to my job somehow. What do I like to do? That's still my job. How about, no, that's still my job. So who am I? Who is my human? And I realized, Johnny Joe, you have been burying yourself in your work, right? And the more people tell you that you're good, or that you're effective, or how successful a show is, or how successful they think your program is, you use that as fuel, and you use that as food to bury yourself in it more. And let me push these friends away, and let me not hang out with you, because I have to deal with this. Or let me push you, family, away. I can't go because I'm busy with work. Let me just bury myself so I don't have to confront, face, or feel. Because that's just where I was stuck for a long time. And as much as I hate what's been happening in the world, and I hate this pandemic, and I hate everything that has come from it, the one thing that has been positive, that I would have never have imagined, was I discovered that I could have a relationship with myself that is separate from my job, that is separate from my craft, that puts me first. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That allows me to love myself and to celebrate myself in a way that I have never been able to. I'm in a relationship with myself that is no longer toxic. And it is freaking awesome. Yeah.
That's good.
So that's my personal journey through the pandemic. That was a lot. Anyway, so with my students, from La Grulla to Brownsville to Southwest, I have always taken pride in working in schools in the middle of communities that are extremely impoverished. Yeah. Many times conservative, not very open-minded, and I kind of feed off of this because I came from that same community. And unfortunately, and I'm not here to badmouth anyone, but I didn't have the theatrical experience in high school that I wish, or that I feel that I and my team are giving to our students at our school now. You know, because I just needed an outlet, and I needed someone to push me. And a lot of times I didn't have that. And because I was that different gay kid, I was always made fun of or put down for trying something or taking a risk. I was always being forced to put into a box, right? But of course you have those teachers who are like, screw that, do it more, do it more. But as far as my theatrical bubble, that support just wasn't there. So when I stumbled upon teaching at La Grulla, I told myself, you know what? No one in this school knows anything about theater. And all they're expecting is a silly Christmas play, right? That's what they expect from me. But for you, for yourself, you're going to be the theater director that you always wish you had, and you're not going to stop. Right. It doesn't matter if you have one kid or two kids. It doesn't matter if it's only your mom and your sister and your tia nene, they're in the audience watching your show. You're going to do it, and you're going to do it full out. Right? And so that's what I want to be for my students. And I feel that in part, because there's 3 directors at my school currently at PSJA Southwest. So we each take a part in that vision, right? And although there's the mean mom, hi, and then you have the cool dad, right? And then you have the Theo or the Thea that kind of holds everything together, right? You find a formula that is going to help you find the sum to that equation that is just going to make it work.
Yeah.
And I feel that we all hold ourselves accountable, and that's what's happening. And because our students are from such an impoverished community, our biggest struggle is that we're losing a lot of kids, not because they don't want to be a part of the department, but because they are literally being forced, not so much by their parents, but by just the climate of the world. They have no choice but to go to work and miss school to support their families whose mom just lost their job, whose dad no longer has that gardening job anymore. Right. And they have to do this for their family to survive. It's not, oh, I want a job to get a car, or I want a job to buy an Xbox, right? I need to do this to help feed my family. Yeah. So how can you get mad at that? You know, but also, how do you support that? How do you help that? There's only so much that you can do, right? Or what do you tell the kid, sir, I'm not going to be in class for 2 weeks because we just lost our house and we have to be out in 3 days.
That's so sad.
What do you tell that kid?
Yeah.
Right? What do you do? Our job has ventured way out of a spectrum of being a theater director where we cultivate art, and we are navigating through precautions and limitations. It's like, how do we still be a part of their lives and help them through this moment? How do we do that, right? When we're told no, right? We can't even drop off supplies to a student without shaking their hand or giving them a hug. Yeah. And that's painful, because to so many of those kids, especially in our community and the communities that I work with, the consistent thing, dads fail. Dads go away. And dads leave families to fend for themselves, and I don't know if they have any idea how much that impacts a child. And for someone who yearns to just hang out with his dad one more time, and you're suddenly thrown into a father role, there's so much that you wish you could do, because there's so much more than kids. I don't just see them for 5th, 6th period. I see them until 8 o'clock. I see them until 10 o'clock. I'm with them working on a tech design. I'm working on them with a film. It's an everyday thing. They're my kid. They're my child. I don't want to say kill, but I would do a lot of things for them, right? Yeah, certainly take a bullet for them. So it's somehow navigating through life that way, but also this is what we have to do, but how do we bring it all together? And I think our focus, aside from trying to put on productions, which we have tried, and we've tried to negotiate with our district, which we respect everything that they've been doing to protect us as teachers and protect our students, we have to help them right now navigate through life and through their mental health and through their mental well-being, right? Now, Monday, we actually start to rehearse for the first time in person, fully masked, for our one-act play. And we are so excited to finally be in a room with all of these kids, for those who can. We can't force anyone to be there. And as far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter if you're our best actor. You do what you have to do to help your family first, and we'll be here to catch you whenever you need someone to catch you or to push you or to pick you up. Right? That is our duty right now. A trophy does not matter. And this is coming from a person who loves to win all the time, respectfully, right? But right now, I don't care about any of that, right? There's too much happening, and the bigger picture it does not have to deal with a stupid trophy right now. It has to deal with humanity and tapping into that, right? Because what they're going through right now, what we're all going through right now, in our art, as artists, is going to push us.
Oh, yeah.
And is going to help us. And I want to take like a second just to thank all of you here, because in the entire Valley, no one has done what SCC has done for the theatrical community. And I'm not just kissing ass here, right? It is truly remarkable that not even the University of Texas, and I'm not dumbing down the school, but as a community who likes to kind of rank things and rank everything, you would think that an institution of that magnitude would be pushing things, but no, it's little STC, the little engine that is pumping out art. And it doesn't matter who the heck watches it, it doesn't matter who that does or who tunes in or who does not. We are pumping art because we can and we will.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and that has served as an inspiration to our students. Because one, we don't have to show them Hamilton the musical on Disney Plus. We could go to YouTube like, this is happening down the street. And you could go to school here. You could go to school here. Like, look what's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Let's Talk was series 1. Is this part 2?
This
great.
is the podcast.
So series 1 was embedded in my Shakespearean unit, and of course, like half the kids were like, "Sir, can I say auto safao?" Doesn't matter. Did you learn something? Well, see, sir. Oh, you know what I mean? And then Medea, like a full-on production. It's like there's the cabaret. Oh my gosh, right? So there's been a revolving door of SCC saying, yes, you can, when the whole community is saying, no, you can't, and we're gonna crawl under our rock and wait.
Yep.
So I think for that, the entire community needs to thank the efforts that all of you are doing. And if any people from the Palm Awards are watching, I know it's a high school event thing, but like an honorary theatrical pandemic award, come on. Come on. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, that's my
Thank you.
rant.
Thank you, Johnny. No, that's very sweet of you. It's nice to hear that, you know?
I just don't understand how not anybody else is even trying to do anything. Like, this is what you prepare for. This is what you do in theater. It's like, there's a problem, what are we doing?
Adapt to it.
How are we going to solve it?
And
this is literally all you do, and that you can't even, when it actually matters, now, this is like an ultimate test, you know? How are we going to do this? How are we going to like figure this out?
I mean, we got all thrown into the water, and we're trying to like swim, you know. And we're all swimming.
Definitely.
We're trying to stay
and of
afloat.
course,
And
each
definitely,
institution and every organization has their own restrictions. Like I know Charlie Palacios, who's one of my co-directors over at PSJA Southwest, an amazing director. We had started rehearsals outdoors because that was our district regulation and the rule, right? We could hold rehearsals as long as they're outside, right? And we were going to put on a show, and he had been rehearsing for about 2 or 3 weeks. But then it got to the point where it's like, we have to move inside, and then there's design now. But then a second wave came, and then we had to shut down altogether. So I'm sure there's been institutions who have tried, right? But because of their own limitations, have not been able to, right? But I think of maybe community theaters and other independently running companies, or I even blame myself. I'm an artist. I could have put something up at a park if I wanted to, right? What was I doing? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just been a trying time, but I really commend you guys for just like being the trailblazers in that, right? Because it's been a long haul. I'm sure it's been frustrating for y'all in that respect, right? Because you have your own limitations to face, and then availability, and those are like as far as Medea's concerned, those are a lot of bodies, and a lot of them maybe aren't STC affiliated actors or artists, right? So I'm sure y'all had your own loopholes to turn in, but yeah. Bravo.
Thank you.
That's also where you find out how, like, you know, it's working around these restrictions. Like, you're giving me these restrictions. All right, I'm going to work within your restrictions. Can I do it? I'm going to do it. You know, because I have to.
So,
totally.
Speaking of creating, you got to work on a production with SAYN, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So, y'all, SAYN is that school saved me so much, right? Not only did I experience the passing of my brother and my father while I was there, they held me together, and they also pushed me as an artist, right? And so...
But you worked with them over the pandemic, right?
I worked with them over the pandemic. So it
just
started...
seems so long ago that it's
yeah,
not,
I
you know what I
know.
mean? Like,
It started October of 2019, actually. I was initially asked to direct a main stage show, Marisol, right? But I don't know how that would be physically possible in October when I have a full-time job in Far, Texas, and the rehearsals for Marisol are in Austin, Texas, right? So we kind of worked out a plan where I would assist in directing that with an amazing director named Liz Fisher, right?
I remember her.
And who actually was
at Texas
a
State when
grad
I was
student
there,
for
yeah.
directing at
I
Texas
remember.
State when
Yeah.
you were at Texas State, right? So the experience then, pre-pandemic, was amazing, right? I would split working here at school and then driving to Austin every weekend until the show opened. It was very difficult, but also it gave me a taste of what it really was to be a real director. In high school, you are director, costume designer, line designer, set designer, stage man, like you're everything, who am I? right? Like if there's a new lighting toy being used in the circuit, you're gonna buy that lighting toy and you're gonna go to the University of YouTube and figure it out, right? And if you cannot, you will call people who maybe know kinda, or you call Rosa, right? Who's an amazing graphic
Shout out to
designer.
Rosa. We love Rosa.
Yes, we love Rosa.
We do love Rosa.
So that experience kind of changed my life, and in that, they're like, you directed the majority of this on your own. I'm like, I know, I'm very controlling. And so then this year, in July, I was called by the managing director, Michelle Polgar, again, and she's like, hey, we have a streaming series that we're going to do. And a title that popped out was ELECTRICIDAD by Luis Alfaro, which is an adaptation of a Greek tragedy,
Yes,
Electra,
you see?
the theme.
Let's pin that, because we want to get back to talking about Latino theater, but go on.
Definitely. So I was approached to direct that virtually, and I did not say no, right? And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And my actors were in Austin, in Brownsville, which was an ex-student of mine.
Yeah.
In Brownsville, Houston, Maryland.
Nice.
Yeah. So all of us made it work, and we had designers for each of the productions, because I was in a series of 3, and the design was mainly costuming and then these backdrops.
Yeah, they got sent these
They were
like...
they were
And
mailed,
then
right?
they were
cool.
shipped to the people who were not in town to kind of make the production happen. I initially wanted like all these lighting moments, which they were down, but then I was sitting there like,
They would have to set them up
how
themselves.
I was gonna manage all this. Like, this is an American Idol. Like the finale of American Idol.
Sending a crew to each
And
house.
knowing me, I'll be like, oh, you missed your cue. It's like, oh, but okay.
The
so
lagging.
you just heard me? Got
Your
it.
Wi-Fi.
The actor's mom is like,
Exactly.
Mom, press the cue.
So that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I was fortunate enough to cast a huge pool of Latino students from St. Edward's, right? And as a Latino student, or a former Latino student from there, I was not only honored to direct a full Latino cast, or a show that required a full Latino cast by a Latino.
Yes.
Right?
Awesome.
I was so happy to work with all of those young artists who I saw so much of myself in.
Yeah.
Right? So that was invaluable in itself, and I'm so happy that it happened, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know we've had a conversation about how we feel about Latino theater, and we have sort of a similar, I think, outlook we've had. But for me, like, people tell me, why don't you do more Latino theater? And I'm like, because I'm not really into the whole stereotypical, like, I don't like it when they're super stereotypical.
Yeah.
They use the stereotypical language and the stereotypical tropes.
They don't seem
and
like real people.
They don't seem like real people, and it's like, I don't want to see that, or I don't want to work with that, because we're not really all like that.
Definitely.
It's very, like, they over exaggerate these things. And also, like, for me, if you're trying to use this to bridge gaps with other groups that obviously are, have issues with people of color, I don't think it's a good idea, because if you go that route, you're already creating a separation from them. Like, they're not going to take the story because it's like, well, I'm not like I was saying before, I'm not like that, or I don't. You're already separating that person, because that's not their experience. And that, if we want to basically desensitize, who, to people of color, you need to start putting people of color in normal stories and not refer to their ethnicity.
That.
And the story should not revolve around them being this
And
ethnicity.
mom shouldn't be making tortillas every scene.
Exactly. So that's the only way that you're going to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Is seeing these, because I don't know if you've seen people like on TikTok and like on Instagram, it's like black people that are like, I saw this one black guy that was like, I don't want to see any more slave movies. I want to see a black guy being a knight fighting dragons. I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about. You need to stop like with the slave movies. You need to stop with the people crossing the river. Like, because the people who that is for, like us, we don't need that anymore because we know about it, we've lived it, whatever, right? So we want to see people who look like us, and other people who don't look like us need to see us in these normal things that they would normally see each other,
So like Brandy in Cinderella with
exactly. Things like that.
Which was way before its time.
It was.
I
It was.
don't know. I was thinking about this. I noticed that people say like, oh, there wasn't enough people of color in all of TV and film in the past. I'm like, but if you actually go back to like the 80s and the 90s, there was.
Yes.
But for some reason in the early 2000s, we kind of took a step back. I noticed that they started separating people and going only all Latino show, all black show, all white show. And I feel like that's where they made a mistake. And we stayed in this like weird like bubble of separation. So I do blame the media.
And I totally agree with you there. My biggest issue with just Latino theater in general is I don't see myself in those stories.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? I don't associate. And I think a lot of that has to do with where this material is coming from. Being a Mexicano in the Valley is not like being a Mexicano in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a huge spectrum of Latin labels. I'm not Chicano. I don't consider myself Chicano. I'm del Valle. So a lot of this material that I read, although I'm like, yes, okay, but I don't relate. Right? And a part of me falling in love with the show, I need to relate to it in some way, shape, or form. And I'm almost alienated reading this because, like, I feel like, am I not Mexican enough? Was I not the right way? Like, what is that food?
And then there's that. You're like, I'm Mexican, and this is way too much for me.
Or like, who calls, like, what? A zapato is a chinela? What? Like what? Like, zacate is not grass? Okay, so it's hard for me to buy in, and I agree with you. I want complexity in my characters, right? That doesn't sum us down to rice and beans, right? I want heart-wrenching stories where people are capable of loving, but not simply. I want them to be as complicated as they can be. Right? Because that's what makes a story, right? Because then you're promoting these young actors here, like, oh, then all of my talent is going to be watered down to a caricature or a shell of a human, right? But I will say that recently I have been pushing myself to just read more of these modernists, right? These maybe millennial age writers like Kiara, right? With the show that we did with last year was Water by the Spoonful, right? Complex, beautiful, vibrant. Latino characters. If you read Her Elliot, right? Yamila's Baby, like these characters have something to say, and although not all of them are rich, they are living in the real world, trying to navigate it the way people like us realistically would. without having to throw a freaking tortilla in there. I love tortillas, but I'm also
No, yeah.
on keto right now,
don't
so I can't have that. So screw the tortilla.
Throw it out the
That's,
window.
that's how I feel about Jose Rivera, like how you did Marisol,
Yes.
and a lot of his other works, like Each Day Dies with
Definitely.
Sleep, Cloud Tecton. They're all, the way that he writes Latino situations and Latino characters is, I feel like, the correct way.
Yes.
Because he does not, like you say, boil it down to fucking rice and beans.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, way,
Yeah.
que onda, way. Like, he doesn't
Exactly.
do that.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's time that we.
Yeah.
Because I like how when you
adapt.
told me that they did
A Latino
Marisol
play.
was to promote more
No?
like Latino
Yeah,
things.
see,
But I was like, but
Adam,
Marisol's
yeah,
not about being Latino.
Exactly. See, and that was another thing. I love St. Ed's, and I love that they chose Marisol as a title, which features a very strong
female Latino character.
Latina actress, right?
Yeah.
Which it was so strange, and it was such a full circle moment. But the young lady that we actually ended up casting as Marisol went to my high school.
Wow.
Rio Grande High School. Like, I'm like, that's the girl. Like, we speak the same language. And I'm looking at her resume. I'm like,
Girl.
Roque Vera, I know that guy. Rio Grande City High School. I'm like, are you from Rio Grande? Simon? Simon? What are you talking about, girl? What's going on? So that was a full circle moment. But for me, I'm just going to say it. This is how I feel. But for a university to make such a bold statement as to choose a show that's going to promote Latino visibility in their department, but then choose a show like Marisol, as amazing as it is,
It's a great show.
has only one
Latino character.
Latino character.
And it's not even about her
And
being
it's
a Latino.
not even about being Latino. Right? To me, and the students picked up on it too, it's like,
This isn't about.
but everybody else is kind of white. I'm like,
Yeah.
I try. You know what I mean? But at least it was a step in the right direction,
Yeah, yeah.
and that led to Electricidad, which was all
Actually, all
those
of them.
suckers are Latino, right? In any way, shape, or form. But the funny thing is, I was like, dude, I have all these Latinos. I'm so excited. Look at all these brown people working alongside me.
Y no hablan
Electricidad, y'all, is mostly Spanish. Right?
Y no hablan
I'm like,
español.
okay, like we auditioned with all of the English segments because those are the very profound monologues. I speak the Spanish. Es porque. I was like, oh.
Was this all of them?
Not all of them, but a
some of
majority of them, right? Which to me says we need more Spanish text
Yes.
in our theater
That's actually what,
departments.
that's what we talked about with
Exactly.
Joel. Because
Yes.
you remember how when he did
Bernarda
House of Bernarda, I was like,
which was amazing.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
It was
I
beautiful.
loved it.
And
And
it
you
was
know I
Spanish.
don't normally
Yeah,
like
exactly. It
say
was-
good
it
things
was
about
so well done.
shows. But it was,
Yeah.
and I told him, like, it was amazing to have seen an English version before and then see the Spanish one and how much
It
is
translates.
lost
Exactly.
in translation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that was,
And,
yeah.
and when you think of this HBO Max series, Veneno, right? Or if you, I started watching the Jenny
Veneno,
Rivera series
fuck
on
up.
Netflix last night, right? So much of Hollywood is moving towards full Spanish language series. It's like,
Yeah.
screw it, they're gonna watch it anyway, there's subtitles, right? So it's like,
And that,
Yeah.
that's another new thing, or not new thing, but that people are like saying, like, if you can't read subtitles, you're missing out on
Yeah.
so much great
Exactly,
content.
exactly.
Like I think it was the guy from Parasite who said that, right? The guy who did Parasite, the one that won, which I thought was a freaking amazing movie. By the
Yeah.
way.
It
Just the
was.
complexities and the subtleties of like the
was.
story.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like if you don't want to read subtitles, you know how much amazing content there is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just back when I started college, like just having professors who would show me French movies and Spanish
Yes.
movies, and I'm like, these movies are
Yes.
amazing, and they don't even do anything.
Yeah.
Like they don't even have
And
all this
then you-
action and you know.
and then you find yourself after a while, you disregard the subtitles and
Yeah.
you're just
In it.
Yeah.
that story with them.
What is it? Somebody's like, if you can't read subtitles, that means you can read. You can't read fast. Like you read really slow if you
Yeah.
can't, if you're not into that.
Yeah, and I feel that, and I know that that's something that we've talked about in our department. Like maybe one of the 5 shows can be full Spanish, right? Or maybe one of our UIL films can be in all Spanish because it's a part of the industry too. If we're
is.
realistically thinking
Yeah.
about our students' careers after this, if they
Yeah.
choose to pursue theater or film or anything of the like, right? I think that's important because I feel that for so long, and you've seen all of those YouTube videos during the pandemic of people attacking Latinos in a park for speaking Spanish and claiming that that is not the language of America when really America
There is no
doesn't have-
official language.
Exactly, there's no official language, right? So I think if we are visible in that way too, it will make it okay for students to be like, yeah, it's okay to talk Spanish, like it's kind of cool, right? So I think there's work to be done. We just have to stop trying to do what someone in New York is doing and what is deemed to be successful, and just do your own thing, right? And if one more person asks anyone or myself, I mean, if you think you're so good, why aren't you in New York or LA? Screw that, honey.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Because I'm gonna tell you this. Why am I gonna go to New York and LA? Why would I go there? To create art, to direct, to act. Great, awesome. But in reality, I'm gonna move there. I need a job. My apartment's gonna be way too expensive. I don't have a trust fund. I don't have mommy and daddy. They can barely support themselves. Okay? So I have no help there. Right? So everything that I need to do has to be for myself, right? But I'm not gonna have time to train. I can't even afford a gym membership at that point, right? I would be working to keep my apartment, right? But wait, I moved there to create art, right? But I'm here right now. I'm creating art. I'm directing.
Definitely.
I'm acting. Maybe I'll even audition for Othello. Who knows, right? But
Cypress video.
but for the role of Othello, the guy who's not there. But
Always silhouette, always
just
in
take a
back.
portrait of me and put it in the back, right? Or
The
post it.
just the
manager
silhouette.
of a video store.
But I'm doing all of that here right now. And if any of you guys know Josh Kennedy, we're currently filming a UIL documentary of him currently with our students, and he said something very similar. It's like, I'm gonna go to New York and like struggle to survive, but I'm already making movies. Like movies that are opening in London. I have actresses for my Dream B horror movies that I'm flying down to McAllen, Texas to film here. I'm creating the art with artists here, right? And then that leads me to the questions that you guys sent prior to this to kind of prepare us. That made me very nervous, right? Because one of the questions, or like two of the questions were, what is a dream show that you've always wanted to do, right? And then who's your dream cast? And then when I got to the dream cast, I kind of panicked because it's like, do I give them an answer that they kind of want to hear, or what I would answer?
It's fine because we haven't even asked those
No,
questions
no,
at all.
I know, and I love that because I was
tell us.
panicking. I'm like, I don't know the answers to these questions, right? But to me, when asked, oh, what's your dream show? Boom, this is a list of them because I don't have one, right? But who's your dream cast? I don't think of celebrity. I think of people in my community who are just as good as those suckers in New York, just as good as those suckers in LA, but because of their life circumstances and things that just like got in the way of their life, this is where they're at. And it does not make them any less talented or less capable. So it's like, why not do the big show and put pressure on these people and still do it? And do it. And if we crash and burn, great. We learn from this. Let's pick it up and let's make it better the next time. Right? So I think the big thing about the Valley is we have artists who are good, who are monumental, who can be monumental. You just need to give them a chance and give them the opportunity, like SCC did me. I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for SCC or Jason saying, yeah, come in.
Aw.
Right?
Sure, why not?
No.
I don't know you, but okay.
Seriously. Because it was through working with actual designers here, not in Austin, not in New York, not in Louisville, here. And I'm like, dang, these guys can kind of make costumes better than the ones over there. Right? We're like, oh, dang, you made that lighting design like in 5 minutes? That would have taken homeboy over there a video recording, 2 weeks, and then like, you know what I mean, a special whatever. But here, because we have less,
We have to do more.
our creativity needs to take charge more.
Yeah.
And that is where art happens. Intelligent lighting, have someone hang from the ceiling and do it for you, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. Right? Where there's a will, there is a way.
Totally.
I think it's a perfect segue to get into those two closing questions.
Definitely.
So here we go. Are you ready? All right, we've been asking everyone this, but so after everything that we've talked about, what do you think the future of theater is?
That's a very good question. I can tell you what I want it to be,
Yeah,
but that's
okay.
not.
Let's do it.
Well,
That's how you want to answer?
well,
No, yeah, that's definitely.
But that's
a good
not
answer.
necessarily what it's gonna be.
Right.
What I like.
There's no right or wrong.
No, yeah. But where I see it going, realistically,
Yeah.
it's going to be 2 to 3 years maybe before we get to any semblance of true normal,
Yeah.
right? And that is for the protection of the performers on stage, the crews, right, and the audience.
And the audience, yeah.
Right? But for me, in the grand scale, or like in the grand scheme of things, how is Broadway going to survive this?
Yeah.
Right? With the prices of rent that goes into those spaces, right? So I think big regional theaters, Broadway, West End, institutions like that are going to take a back seat for a little bit, which is going to give opportunity for community theaters.
Okay.
For universities,
Yeah.
for high schools to have more of a spotlight. And with that, I sincerely hope that those directors and those designers that are hired as consultants to design various aspects of every show will be given an opportunity and will be put on a pedestal where they're made to feel worthy of their art, right? They always tell me, well, those who can't teach. No, they still do. They still can. They still create, right? You don't know their life. You don't know their life story. They're here because they need to be here now. They can always choose to take over the world. And as far as I'm concerned, they probably are. A win for every individual person is a win.
Yeah.
And for us, our win this year, our state championship, is our first rehearsal together on Monday. That's what the win is for us, because we're only guaranteed that day.
Yeah.
Right? The contest could be taken away from us at any second, but right now, make use of every second that we have together. Not so much putting the show together, but what time we have together here.
Yeah.
Because this is what we've yearned for. Not the traveling, not the awards, and not the competing, not the winning. We yearn for this interaction. We yearn for our family.
Yeah.
So celebrate in that. And I think if we focus on small victories rather than big monumental, we want everything to go back to normal, we want to sell out tickets. No, you're not going to get that, and you're setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. Right? So focus on the small victories.
Yeah.
And like I said, Monday is going to be a beautiful, and I mean, I've already cried like twice here, so it's going to be emotional. Just because I've seen them, right, virtually, and I've seen them dropping off things, but never together like that. And it's going to be a family reunion that's a long time coming. That is going to be weird because we never really got to say goodbye to the seniors from the previous year. So there's going to be a void there, but also that's going to be filled up with the new freshmen that came in. So it's going to be exciting.
And last question, what advice do you have for all our aspiring thespians that are going to continue this even after high school?
So students?
Students,
Any future
anyone
people want to
wanting
pursue
to do
this.
this.
Yeah, I say go at it. Don't say no once. I don't think I ever said no at all. And I think that's why I have so much knowledge in design, in construction, even though I wouldn't recommend anyone looking underneath a platform or behind a flat that I make, because it's very much an interpretation that is extremely subjective, right? Directing and acting, dip in everything. You never know when someone is going to ask you to perform a certain skill, and you don't want to lose it to the person next to you who just so happens to know how to do it. Right? Totally. Do that. And I think also your future is what you make it. And right now, the biggest struggle that I'm facing with some of my students in my particular campus is, yeah, titles matter, the names of schools sometimes matter, but don't put all your eggs in a huge monumental school like NYU or the Juilliards, or Michigan, right? Or the San Marcos Musical Theater Program, right? you can cultivate your own path no matter where you go.
Agreed.
Right? And if you tuned into episode 1 of the Cabaret series here for SCC, you see a young lady who is probably just as talented as any Broadway actress
Yeah.
who goes here
Yes.
and is making the most of her journey here.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Is her journey going to stop here? No,
No.
because she's not going to let it.
Agreed.
If you let something as silly as the name of a school keep you from venturing out or pursuing what you love because they made you feel like you weren't enough, or maybe you shouldn't do it, maybe you should reevaluate what it is that you do want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want the fame, if you want all of these things like this, honey, that is earned.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of us are Katherine Heigl at the mall who's discovered and then suddenly she's on Grey's Anatomy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but where is she now?
Damn it.
No comment. Right?
Crickets.
Exactly. Right? But if you want to learn,
I
you can learn anywhere from
Anywhere, yeah.
anyone.
Yep.
Right? When I was here, I learned on the job. Right? In all aspects of theater. In all aspects of theater. And the great thing about here, you could say, I'm an actor, but they're still going to force you to do everything else.
Yep.
Right? And that is the exact type of instruction that I got in Austin. Right? So don't think that a big school is going to be your ticket out. How many people have graduated from all of these programs that never touch Broadway or regional theater? Right? It doesn't matter where you go.
Nope.
It all matters to how you want to cultivate your journey and how you want to navigate and tell your story.
Definitely.
So keep pushing, don't say no, and also don't put yourself in a box and push what you think the limit is, because at the end of the day, there's probably someone sitting in that audience or in that classroom that you probably would never think would be listening, that wants to be challenged, but is too afraid to. And if you could be that person that helps them do that, oh my gosh, like you've already changed the world. I'm gonna tell you one little story before, I'm gonna shut up, I promise. My dearest friend, or one of my dearest friends, his name is Tyler, and I went to college with him at St. Ed's, and June 2019, yeah, pre-pandemic, yeah. So he was nominated, so he's a Broadway producer right now. And he invited me to be his date for the Tony Awards because he was nominated for Hadestown that year. But the highlight of that trip wasn't going to the Tony Awards for the first time, right? As like a Latino from La Grulla, like, ¿qué está haciendo ya, right? It wasn't even that. The night before, I don't even know who or what, right? But a party was hosted in his honor for the nomination at this hotel. And there was a time when two of my friends were like, hey, we're gonna go home. And I volunteered with another friend to walk them to the subway because we just wanted to talk a little bit more, and the party was kind of stuffy. You know what I mean? So in doing that, we're chatting up. It's like 2 a.m, but on Times Square then it didn't matter, right? It just seemed like it was any time of the day. And I'll never forget, I was walking and we were laughing and talking, and all I hear is, Trillayes! And I'm like, what? Trillayes! And my friend is like, is someone shouting your last name? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm shocked because someone is yelling my last name in Times Square or because they're pronouncing it correctly. Like, I don't know which is which, right? And I turn and I see this man and I'm like, who the heck is this man? Who is this guy? And he's like, Trillayes, ¿qué onda? And I'm like, do I know you? And he's like, ¿Cómo que no me conoces, Trillayes? And I look at him and I'm like, Jerónimo? And he's like, sí, güey, sí. And I'm like, Jerónimo, oh my gosh, you were that football player, weightlifter in my very first period of La Grulla High School. Like years prior, right? At my first school. And this was also the kid who like always begged me to help him pass so that he could play because he would never turn in journals, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And he's like, sir, it's blowing my mind, sir. Like that I'm seeing you here. Like these are my friends. And I'm like, where are you guys staying? Oh my gosh. And then he's like, no, sir, we kind of just drove here. And we're like we just got here and we're sleeping in the car. And I'm like, I don't know, but like, but why are you here? And he pulls out an extra credit paper that I assigned him and at the time I just made it up. Like it wasn't even like like it's like, I have to give him something for extra credit. And like the principal and everybody's like, he's a very good player, right? So I'm like, okay. So the prompt is, if you had the opportunity to go to New York, what are 5 things that you're gonna do? Have a page, go.
Oh my goodness.
And he pulls out that paper that I give him a 73 on. And he showed me the paper. And he kept it.
Oh.
And this was a kid that I never thought cared or even listened, who was not even in any production that I've ever directed in my life.
Wow, that's crazy.
And he's checking off the 5 things that he wrote to Mr. Trillayes that he would do if he ever went to New York. And so he woke up one day after going through some hard stuff, right? And told his friends, hey, I got this money from this job that I just lost that I've been saving for this, but it's like, why save? I want to live. Will you guys come with me to New York? Just cause I don't know how long, I don't know what, we'll stay in my car, but let's do it. And they're like, yes, friend, we'll do it. And then in that chance encounter, I magically run into them in the biggest city in the country, right? And that to me was like, never take any kid for granted. Yeah. Never take any of them for granted, because we will never understand their story the way that they do or the way that their friends do. So always teach like you're teaching that kid who's about to get into Juilliard, right? Like the cream of the crop. All of them are. Yeah. Because you don't know who's going to take what with them. Yeah.
That's very
right? And if you limit one, then that could tell them maybe you're not worth it, and then that will send them down a different road and down a different spiral that they don't deserve to go down just because you don't understand them. Yeah. So be understanding to people, cheer everyone on. Yeah. And that goes for the whole community. I feel when someone does something monumental, it's like, it's like, why can't it be like, amazing? Yeah. I'm gonna steal that and make it my own. But thank you for pushing the limits that I didn't know were available. Yeah. Right? So I think that's the one thing for our community as a whole, not only students who are pursuing this, but support each other. Yeah. Right? We only have each other, and we're only as good as each other. So if we bring each other down without being constructive, how are we going to get better? Yeah. It's so easy, and I was guilty of that growing up. It's like, ew, no, horrible, gross, right? But then it's like, but what good is that doing for the community as a whole? It's not so much about me being effective or my team being effective. What if the whole valley was effective? Yeah. That's how you make a statement.
And that's also my reasoning for all those people that are like, I gotta get out of here because I can't do anything here. It's not cultural enough. There's not enough arts, and it's whatever. And it's like I have to go to New York or wherever. Yeah. And it's like, well, what the is gonna happen to this place if everybody who's good leaves? This place is never gonna grow if everybody who can do something decides to go shove themselves, in New York or LA, where everybody has their mother.
Another apartment.
Exactly. Take another apartment, taking up more space in a place that already does not have space.
And not doing theater.
Yeah. And I also feel like that's such an ignorant thing to say. There's so much culture here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? There's so many world markets where you could literally get lost. There's one in your neighborhood. Yeah. Right? There's so many synagogues here. Like the culture here is improving. You just have to find it. Yeah. You're not going to find it at Walmart. No. You're not going to find it at Main Event. You're not going to find it at the movies. No. Yeah. Right? If you want culture and you want to experience it, dig.
Yeah. It's there.
Dig. Because going back to Tea Time, Robert, I had never seen that many Indian American audience members in any audience like I did for that show.
Nope.
Wow.
When we had a talk back for that show, and when I looked into the audience, I was like, I'm intimidated. I just told a story about your culture.
Yeah. Without using any, right? Or was the main kid, he was Indian?
No,
he wasn't.
The dad. Maybe the dad had.
No, he wasn't.
No, that's Hector.
That was
right? Yeah.
From Cinesol.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I had full Latin actors. So for me, it was like I couldn't find any Indian actors who came forward to audition.
And that's what sucks. That's one of the reasons that I erased the character of Othello. It's like we don't know of any black actors in the area. If you're out there, please come talk to us.
Yes.
Indian, whatever you are, especially older
Asian,
actors.
yeah.
I know we've talked about this for years. Like, I want those older actors.
Yeah.
Because like, as much as like you can put a young person and age them up and they can act.
It's the experience.
It's the
yeah,
experience, you know, the way that they speak, you know, as great of an actor as they can be, there's still that lacking of like, you are not old enough, you know?
They have lived.
I want to see, and luckily I got to work with some actual older actors at Pan Am. Like, there was randos who would come in and be like, you know, this 60-year-old woman or this 50-year-old man, and they were amazing. And now it's like, where are you, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's maybe they feel like, I don't have enough experience, and what they have to understand about here, this is still an educational institution, right? When you cast someone,
just do it.
It's not like we expect you to be Broadway ready. Let's go. It's like, no. We're also working with students who also need to grow and evolve through this process. So you're just gonna fall into that as well. So I think that may be the stigma where it's like, I'm just not good enough. No one is ever good enough, right? You grow into these parts, right?
And just because you've never acted before doesn't mean you can't act.
Exactly.
Right? So that goes for everybody around here. Even like, I feel like, I mean, we've had two professors from here that have been in a couple of our shows, both women. Lynn, where is Lynn? Remember Lynn? Did you ever work with Lynn?
I think I've seen her in a show for sure.
Yeah, and then there's Liana, who's been in a couple of our shows. She's in English. I think they were both English professors. I think those are the ones that we attract, right? Of course, naturally. But if anybody's watching.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Johnny, thank you for giving us some of your time and coming down over here to do this podcast with us. We really appreciate it. For all of you out there, please like our Facebook, our Instagram. Johnny is definitely going to be sending us all the links to any of the shows or any of the things that he talked about, so we can go ahead and put those links on there. So if you have anything on like Electricidad and stuff like that, we'll definitely put that link on that YouTube so that you guys can see it. Also some Southwest stuff. If you have anything that you wanna throw out there.
Maybe that documentary
or
link once that goes
whatever it
live
is.
for sure.
So that we can definitely put that in this segment and we can push the arts more. Thank you guys for pushing the arts. Please keep viewing. Please keep viewing all of our content, and stay tuned for Cypress video auditions that Marcy will be posting about later.
Wait, but this is gonna be airing.
Whatever. You know, stay tuned for Cypress.
By now it should be
It's
out.
gonna
By
be
now it should
Right
be out.
now, when this is airing.
Next week.
Either way, Cypress video at some point. You will see it. And yeah, thank you guys.
Be
Later.
safe, be well.
Be safe.
Bye.
Wear your masks.